What is up, guys? 70 Savage here. Today we have a very exciting day. We are going to be building the shower inside the van. So if you are new to the channel, I have been converting this Sprinter van right here into a full-time tiny home. I've been documenting the entire process along the way. So everything that you see in this video, there is probably a video on it in terms of how to install it, how to make it. If you are not yet a subscriber and you do find this video enjoyable, don't hesitate to slap that like button below. Don't hesitate to slap that subscribe button below. Now let's go ahead and get into it. So a lot of people ask the question, why have a shower in the van? There's lots of ways to take showers these days if you're living on the road, such as gyms, campgrounds, friends' houses, and I plan to actually use all three of those while I'm living on the road. So you might ask, okay, then why have a shower in the van? Although I will plan to use all three of those showering methods for like a real shower, if I just want to like sit in the shower and get, you know, the full-on shower experience, that will be how I do it. That being said, there are going to be a lot of times, like in my first trip, if you saw that vlog on the channel, where the showers are not accessible. So I'm either boondocking or the showers are closed at the campground because it's the middle of winter and it is covered in snow, or it's just straight up inconvenient to try and find a shower. In those cases, it is awesome to have a shower like this in the van, and it takes a lot of stress off during your road trips if you know that you can not need to build your trip around finding showers. That being said, this is not the kind of shower that I'm gonna sit in for 15-20 minutes with the hot water on, just blasting it. In fact, I think it would last 10 minutes running continuously before it drains my 30-gallon water tank. Not ideal. So this is gonna be somewhere between a sponge bath and an army shower. That's how I plan on using it. Really excited to get this started. So those of you who have been watching since the start of this build understand that this shower has been quite the design constraint. It has been taken into consideration for every aspect of the rest of the build. The entire bed system that I designed was designed in order to accommodate a shower, as well as the measurements of the galley, etc. It's very challenging to have both a toilet and a shower in a short wheelbase 144 Sprinter van. Let's go ahead and get into it. So right now the van resembles a construction zone, but that is what happens pretty much the majority of the time you're building it out. So walking in now, this corner right here is where the shower is going to go. So this bed system actually slides back. You can see videos on that on my channel to allow this space to open up, where we are going to put a shower pan with a liftable shower curtain that somehow attaches to the roof. I haven't figured that part out yet. So the way that I'm going to go about doing this is I am going to create a cardboard template, a cardboard cutout mock-up of the shower pan itself. And what I'm going to do is hand those mock-ups to a fabricator, somebody who can create them out of stainless steel. The way that I'm creating the cardboard mock-up is with a couple of tools here, a couple of measuring straight edge tools, some blue tape that's really easy to work with cardboard because you can pull it on and off without ruining the piece. Pencil, obviously, to make the markings, and then very important, use a knife rather than scissors. This makes your cuts very clean and straight as long as you just line it up with the straight edge. We have the very start of the mock-up here. Let's go ahead and see how this thing looks in the van. It's fitting pretty dang well for the start. One of the reasons I'm creating this mock-up, other than being able to translate my design to a fabricator, is to get a feel for the ergonomics of the shower pan. Let's go ahead and step into it now and see what it feels like. The reason that I started out with making it so high is for a few different reasons. First of all, this is going to hold the entire shower curtain all bundled up, including all of my soap. It's going to have the faucet, it's going to have the mixer, and I wanted to have a lot of room in there in order to be able to bundle that stuff. Another reason it needs to be pretty high is to be able to clear that wheel well back there. I want the top projection of the shower to be a square or a rectangle so that I can make a square or rectangle shower curtain. That being said, this is pretty dang high. It's pretty hard to step in and out of, especially in such a small space here. So I am going to take about 2 inches off. It is just so peaceful being out here tonight, chilling, mocking up this shower template. Alrighty, so we actually shortened it by 3 inches now, and it's much easier to step in. Alright guys, we have the cardboard mock-up panels all put together here. The cool thing about this is it's actually pretty big. As you can see, I'm a huge dude, I'm 6'5". And I can squat in here no problem, do my shower thing. But if I learned anything from the mistakes on this mattress, which you guys might have seen in the video on that sliding bed system, if you're getting something fabricated, you want to give it a decent margin for error. You want to make it a bit smaller. If you're getting this thing made out of steel, it's going to come back way more rigid than this piece of cardboard. So things that are tight now are going to be literally impossible to make fit once this thing is made out of steel. So I'm going to shrink some of the dimensions a little bit here and there, but overall it's looking pretty dang good. Something that's interesting to think about here, it would be very difficult to make a permanent fixture of this size in a 144 wheelbase Sprinter, and also have, you know, a kitchen galley unit and a toilet and these upper cabinets and your whole battery bank and the water system on the inside of the van. So I'm super stoked. It's coming together. So that is the mock-up. I am now going to drive to my local fabricator and show them the mock-up and see what they have to think. All right guys, so here we are. It's almost 3 months since the last clip that you just saw. It took me that long to get this thing fabricated. It was a nightmare trying to find a fabricator who would actually do this, surprisingly. Overall, I ended up working with 3 fabricators. The first 2 both kept the mock-up for about a month after saying, yeah, okay, sounds like a project we can do. I emailed them, you know, called them over and over and over again, and I didn't get a response from both the first 2 fabricators until a month after they had it. The first fabricator just flat out said, yeah, it's not a project we're interested in. Second fabricator, no reply, no reply, no reply. Outrageous quote, almost $2,000 just to get the thing fabricated. And I was just like, okay, you know, you obviously don't want to do this. Give me the mock-up back. I'm gonna take it to somebody else. Thankfully, the third fabricator I found, I showed up, immediately realized that it was somebody that I had gone to high school with. Super cool guy, his name is Frankie. This is doing super awesome, and he was really stoked about the project. He had a quote to me out before I even got home, got the whole thing done in 2 days. So big shout out to Frank from Simpson Welding and Fabrication. It's located in Santa Rosa. So if you're in the Bay Area and you have a project like this, highly recommend going to them. So here we have it. This here is the shower pan that they fabricated for me. It's made out of 100% stainless steel. It is 16 gauge, I believe. It's pretty thick, which makes it nice and strong. The welds look so good. Apparently they acid washed the entire inside of the shower pan. They did verify that it does indeed hold water because I knew it was a shower pan. So something interesting is in the mock-up, I actually put down the drain location. I didn't mention it to Frank when I was giving him the lowdown of what to make, but they went ahead and did add the drain hole, which is awesome because that means I don't need to go back to the fabricator to get it re-welded, but it's gonna be a bit challenging to get the perfect drill location in the van since that's already been mounted on here, right? Like I can't set it down and then drill the hole through the floor and the pan at the same time. I need to figure out how to do that. So that's gonna be a little bit challenging, but trade-off. Next step now is we gotta put this bad boy in the van and figure out how to get it securely mounted. So first things first, we need to slide the bed back in order to expose the vertical column where we're gonna place the shower pan. By the way, video on that in the channel. In fact, 3 videos on that in the channel. A little bit of a debacle here. I got the shower pan. It's the drain pipe popping out the back. So I tried to, you know, put it in place here and lie it down. The problem is, since this drain pipe is welded here, there's not a good way for me to set this in place and then mark down through the drain hole to start drilling. I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is straight up measure the distance from the front and from the back to where this drain pipe is and just try really hard to make it in the perfect spot. All right, so scratch that whole measurement thing. I think what I'm gonna do is simply cut down this pipe. We've cut the drain pipe down, so I'm gonna cut 2x4 widths of 4 3/8. We're gonna stand this thing up on stilts on the 4 3/8 long 2x4 pieces, and then we'll have a good square reference to measure this hole and get to drilling. We have 4 perfectly the same height 2x4 lengths. Let's go ahead and place them and put the shower pan on top. The pan has been placed. It is currently sitting on the 4 2x4 stilts that we just cut out. It is now time for the moment of truth. We're gonna take our Sharpie and mark our hole. Since this is the first and the last hole that I'm ever gonna drill into the van's floor, I wanna do it right. So I am gonna be using quite a bit bigger hole saw bit than the inch outside diameter. I'll probably use 1 1/4 inches. Really don't want to drill this hole twice or need to take a Dremel and like Dremel through the subfloor, the vinyl, the insulation, and the van floor. I'd rather start a little bit big, and then I have a pretty good mechanism here for sealing the hole from the bottom side. So we are starting with our 1/8 inch bit. I'm going to drill straight down through the middle of this hole with the 1/8 inch bit. We're going to go underneath the van and see if all of our measurements were accurate. We are hopefully going to go straight through the floor, down underneath the van, and not straight into the drive shaft. I can't handle the suspense. Please, 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 please. This is the drill bit right here. It could not have been any more perfect. Pulley drill served us well. All right, just got the 1 1/4 inch. Seems about right. I guess we have 1/8 of an inch of give on each side. And hopefully I made my measurements precise enough. So I'm gonna drill a little bit from the top to prevent a lot of blowout from happening. Then we're gonna come back up from the bottom and do the majority of the drilling. Wish me luck. There we go. We got ourselves a hole. So stoked right now, guys. The shower pan fits. All of the very stressful parts are complete. So now that we have our shower pan temporarily placed, there are a few holes that we need to drill in order to get ready to permanently place it. The first hole that we're gonna need in here is a mounting hole. It's gonna be 1 bolt through here into the middle of the van, where I'm gonna mount a plus nut, one of my favorite mounting mechanisms. And then we are going to need 2 holes in the back of this piece of the panel right here. First one being a hole for my little tiny shower mixer, hot cold water off and on. The other one for the mixer's output, which is going to attach to the shower head. So 3 holes total, 1 for the mixer, 1 for the mixer output, and then 1 bolt hole to mount the shower pan. Let's go ahead and get to drilling. The hole is drilled for our 5/16 bolt. We marked the location of that bolt hole we just drilled right there. You can see all the masking around there. And that is a hole that we are going to drill for this plus nut here. So plus nuts are these awesome little pieces of hardware that you can use to essentially create a bolt mounting point on any of the metal inside the van. I have them all over the place. I have some for the upper cabinet, I have some for the bench seat, I have some for the galley unit, I have a bunch. You can see these bolts right here for the bed are also mounted directly to plus nuts, which are installed onto the van frame. And this right here, I am happy to say, is the very last plus nut we are ever going to install in this van. So the precautions that you want to take when drilling any holes in the van, most of the time that is going to be to mount these plus nuts, is you want to put a magnet in the back. You can't see it right now, but there is a little horseshoe magnet that I put on the back side to catch any of the metal shavings, and then I just mask off the front here to prevent the metal shavings from going all over the place. The main thing you want to worry about is metal shavings falling down into these crevices here, where they will simply sit and rust. Alrighty, so we have our hole drilled for the plus nut. Plus nut fits right in there. We're not going to install the plus nut yet. First we're going to coat this with Rust-Oleum. So we have our plus nut hole, and we have the plus nut. But how do we actually install it? Well, when you have one of these, that becomes very simple. This is a plus nut installation tool. I will put a link in the description below. This is gonna make your life a whole heck of a lot easier anytime you're installing a plus nut. All you have to do is extend the plus nut out, screw on your plus nut body, stick it in the hole, and clamp it down. That will compress the backside of the plus nut so that it squeezes up against the metal and therefore creates a really solid connection so that you can screw any bolts back into it. Let's go ahead and do that now. And that is it. That's all you gotta do to install a plus nut if you have the handy dandy plus nut tool. So this is a 5/16 plus nut right here. We have a 5/16 bolt. We can take any 5/16 bolt, it doesn't have to be this one, and screw it in. Super, super solid connection. I don't know how many hundreds of pounds these things can hold, but it's more than enough for most applications that you're gonna need in a van. So when we install the shower pan here, we are going to take the bolt through the side into the plus nut. I just hooked up the initial plumbing for the back. Show you guys what it looks like in here. You got the mixer that's closest to us, and you got the output into the shower hose. All right guys, so we have our first major problem with the shower pan install. I actually realized about this problem when I first put the shower pan down and laid it down here flat, and stood in it for the first time just to be like, well, it's down here, let's see how it goes. And there was a lot of like popping, you know, when I'm stepping around on the bottom, depending on which location I stepped on, pop, pop, and I'm like, that's weird, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be on a flat surface and there's no room for it to be popping. So that had me looking a little bit deeper into the issue, and let me show you guys what's up. At first glance, when we lid the shower pan in after drilling the hole, everything looked pretty good. It's laying down flat, it's up against the wall here. But if you look a little bit closer, look at this line right here, the shower pan versus the water system cabinet. By the way, video on this in the channel. It's a little bit slanted. You can tell it's not perfectly square. And that got me thinking, uh-oh. I'm thinking that there is something on that side pushing it up or preventing it from laying down completely flat with the floor. So let's go take a look at that. So it's really, really hard to see. In fact, you probably can't see it on GoPro. I can see there's about a 1/4 inch of lift. It is not touching the ground. It's being prevented from lying flat with the floor on that back edge due to the shape of the van frame. So if you look back in the early parts of the video, you can see, now that I'm mentioning it, the van frame goes like this, and right at the bottom there's a little bit of room that protrudes outward from the side. The reason that we missed this with our original measurements for the hole was because I had it up on those 4-inch stilts. The bottom protrusion only exists in the bottom like 1/4 inch of the van frame, and when we had it on 4-inch stilts, it made it up and above that protrusion where we made our original measurements. So I did quite a bit of thinking on this, and I thought, okay, well, this kind of sucks. We can't re-drill the hole. That would be a bad decision, and the holes that we have don't work. So I think the best thing that we can do here is put a 1/4 inch of material underneath the shower pan to effectively get it above that little stubby nub sticking out, preventing it from lying flat with the floor. And at that point, we will have it lying flat with the floor. There will just be another 1/4 inch rise underneath the shower pan. So I went ahead and I ordered a 1/4 inch piece of rubber, just a big rubber sheet. And I'm gonna cut that to the same shape as the shower pan. I'm gonna lie it into there, and hopefully we will be good to go. Now that we have the 1/4 inch plywood propping up the bottom of the shower pan, we can look at this here, and it's much, much better aligned. It's almost square. It's not quite perfect. I mean, this could probably be 3/8 of an inch. This right here is going to be the riser. I ended up not doing it in rubber. I ordered the rubber came in, it smelled awful. I'm one of those people who's really sensitive to that rubber smell for some reason. So I'm gonna return that, but I went to a local plastic store, this is called Tap Plastics, and got a 3/8 inch piece of ABS. I got it in just 30 inches by 30 inches, and then I cut it to the dimensions that I needed with my jigsaw, which is kind of fun, cutting plastic with a jigsaw. And then I drilled a hole in it for the drain hole. So let's go ahead and put this down and now see if the shower pan lines up perfectly with the side of the wall. Fantastic news. It fits perfectly. It is now perfectly square with everything else. It's not bent in any direction. Unfortunately, it does still pop, like if I step over here, right? Because it's stainless steel. So I guess that's to be expected. But it feels like it's lying on a flat surface now. It doesn't feel like I'm stepping into an abyss. I'm gonna connect the shower hose here and see if we get ourselves some running hot and cold water. All right, guys, so I did replace the black unions. There were black plastic unions with these copper ones. Time for the sketchiest moment in all plumbing installations. Let's turn this bad boy on. First visible leak, very, very slow, is actually right on the union joint itself. So I'm gonna tighten these two unions down and see if we can make it stop. It dripped down onto the floor, and if I didn't seal around the entire subfloor, you can see that in the flooring video, I used silicone caulk around the entire floor. It took me like 3 days. But if I didn't do that, the water would have just fallen down onto the metal and it would just be sitting there undryable. Highly recommend that you do that just to keep your floor completely sealed. So I just ripped this all apart for about the umpteenth time. I ripped off the unions. I made my own pseudo unions with PEX. PEX you put into the quick connectors and it rotates freely. So it served the same purpose. The problem is that with these ends of the shower inputs, these are straight threads and these are not. So that was my hoped solution to try and fix that, but these still leak. So we're gonna try one more time. Well, we're gonna try a lot more than that if it doesn't work, but I think this is going to be the correct fix. I think I have a solution. The fourth version of our plumbing setup is completed. Let's go ahead and see if it works. Please, 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 please. All right, guys, fantastic news. We finally have leak-free plumbing. Thank God. Let me go ahead and give a brief explanation of what we ended up with. So we have our two fittings here that are mounted directly to the shower pan itself. The top one is the shower mixer. The bottom one right here is the output for the shower head. On the input to the shower mixer, that's where we are having all our problems. These three smaller lines right here, the ones that I have my hand around, they have straight threads at the tip. And for so long, I was having trouble finding out how to connect these straight threads to my plumbing system. So the way that they were labeled are NPS fittings. And I was like, what the heck is an NPS fitting? I was Googling around, there's really no information on NPS fittings. But what I realized when I got really frustrated yesterday and just started walking around the hardware store like, come on, there's gotta be something here. I realized that they're super standard fittings. They're just called faucet fittings. That's what most people refer to them as. And so faucet fittings are those straight threads that are on the tips of these right here. And so I just got faucet connectors. The faucet connectors are these hoses, the bigger diameter hoses, and these can be found at any hardware store. And they have the swivel ability. The tips on these things swivel and they connect from the faucet, which in this case is my mixer, to eventually pipe. It's a compression fitting to a pipe fitting and then a pipe fitting on my plumbing system. It feels so obvious that that was the solution, but the reason that I'm putting this in this video is not because it was an obvious solution and that I feel silly. It's because this stuff comes up. Like, no matter how much research you do, no matter how many videos you watch on YouTube, you're going to come across a point in your van build where something just isn't working. And you know there's a solution, you know it shouldn't be that hard, but it's just very, very frustrating to come to that solution. It's exactly what I just went through. I just want to make it apparent that it's okay. If you keep trying, if you just walk around the hardware store, ask questions, keep Googling around, you can find the right solution for your problems. Hope you guys learned something from the thought process of coming to a solution here and not necessarily just what the problem was and what the solution is. That thought process is key to being able to build your van. There we go. Nice little 5-minute addition to the shower pan. The next steps are gluing down the plastic spacer that we have. We're going to use this essentially a silicone adhesive, and then we are going to glue the bottom of the shower pan to the top of the plastic spacer. Once we do that, we can go underneath and start working on the drain portion. There we go. We got the shower pan. It's nice and glued down. It's very, very sturdy. It's a lot less popping now that it's actually glued down. There's a little bit, but it's not like audible. Like I'm gonna be able to take a shower in here and still be pretty stealthy. Right, so going under the van now. up to the bottom side of the shower drain. You can see I have the silicone all around the outside of the drain. It's completely sealed from the bottom up. As you can see, there's a second hose back here. This one connects to the drain. It goes through one of these factory body holes. There's factory body plugs here that you can use in certain circumstances so that you don't have to drill holes in your floor. And that's what I did for my sink. Anyways, the drain from the sink comes out. That's what this pipe is right here. We're essentially going to tee off the drain hose that goes into our gray water tank and connect the output of the drain from the shower to the same drain hose. Alrighty guys, so the drain plumbing is 100% complete. We have the drain pipe directly from the shower pan. That goes through this elbow here. It goes into an adapter from 1-inch ID tubing to 3/4 ID tubing, which is what the rest of my drain system is in. It connects directly to the rest of the drain system here via this T, and then it follows the drain over down through here into my gray water tank. It's like a 20-something gallon gray water tank. I'm forgetting off the top of my head right now. There's actually a video on how I installed this and mounted it to the van on the channel. And then I have this little electric valve here. So I have a switch up in the cabin where I just flip it and it drains the tank whenever I'm at a place appropriate to drain. This new shower head just arrived, the Fury RV. I'll put a link to this one in the description below. So this shower head is way nicer. It has quite a bit more pressure here. The eventual shower rod that I'm going to make is going to hold this thing up. There's quite a bit of engineering work that needs to go into how that curtain is actually going to work, and that is actually what I need your guys' help with. So I mocked up a quick example shower curtain here and shower rod to give us a proof of concept to help explain the requirements for what the shower rod needs to do. Essentially how this thing's going to work is when I'm not using it, it collapses down and it can be stored in the shower pan itself, 100% self-contained. But when I'm using it, it needs to be able to hold itself up all the way up to the top of the van so that I can take a nice comfortable shower without spraying everywhere. And last, it also needs to be able to hold the shower head so that I don't have to hold the shower head the entire time I'm taking a shower. So far I have a couple of initial ideas for how the shower pan could be mounted. Let me go ahead and share those with you guys now to get the creative juices flowing. So this right here is a welder's magnet, and the way that this works, when the lock is turned to the left, it's not a magnet at all, but when you engage the magnet by turning it to the right, it sticks to the van metal and it provides a really secure fit. So what I could do is drill out like 2 sockets on this portion of the van wall. I could then lift the shower rod up, stick it into the sockets, and engage the magnets, and the shower rod will hold itself in place. I could also do a similar thing with the ceiling where I just drill the sockets into the roof. A third idea that I have is I could put a sort of mounting bracket right here, and that could have a socket for like a PVC pipe that would effectively serve as an arm where the shower rod could mount to on the top of that arm. And when I'm not using it, that arm could break down and be stored in the shower pan itself. That idea is actually kind of similar to the Lagoon table mount here, where you have the mounting bracket connected to the wood and the arm attaches directly to that. So those are just the very first few ideas that I have, but I'm very interested in the ideas that you guys have. So if you come up with something, if you have a brilliant idea that fits all of the 3 requirements that I laid out, put that in the comment section below and I will make sure to read every single one of them. Alright guys, so that sums it up for part 1 of the shower video. It has definitely not been the smoothest project that we've done in the van, but we did successfully overcome all of the different problems that we came across, and we have an awesome result. So overall we have our shower pan mounted. It has rubber edging all around the sides here. It has a drain hole down into our gray water tank right there. We have a fully functioning shower head with both hot and cold water. Has pretty solid pressure and an on-off switch on the shower head itself. And last but not least, we have our handy dandy lid that stores right on the side of the shower when the shower is in use. But most of the time it's going to sit on top of the shower pan, and then there is a little square on this corner here preventing it from sliding around. This ABS lid that I have is strong enough to hold all the stuff that I would normally put in this corner. It allows the same amount of horizontal space as I would have here if it was just the floor, but just reduces the vertical space by 15 inches. So that sums it up for part 1 of the shower video. Very interested in your guys' ideas for the shower rod so that we can complete part 2 of the video. I hope that you guys learned something from this video. If you did like the video, definitely slap that like button below. And if you are not yet in the Savage fam and you are not yet a subscriber, also slap that subscribe button below and you will get notified when part 2 of this video comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Super stoked with how this turned out. Really looking forward to part 2, and I will see you guys next time.